Hey everyone, how's everyone feeling? Give yourselves a round of applause. Here you are, we're nearing the end of the day. Give yourself a round of applause. You deserve it. You deserve it. Let's give Hot Sauce by Hotjar a round of applause. Big thanks to the organizers. This has been such an amazing event. All right, back to me. I'm just kidding. Being that it's the end of the day, we're just trying to raise the Scoville setting to high. I think it's what, 1 million UPUs or SUHs? Anyone watch Hot Wings? Or, yeah, it's Hot Wings, yeah, okay. So they referred to this session as the espresso shot of the day. Just want to make sure everyone's energized. Sorry, just getting used to everything. All right, so, hey Siri, please tell me where pizza near me is. Anyone do voice searches here by show of hands? Does anyone want to share what their last voice search or AI-driven search was? Show of hands. Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. You never know in New York. It's a really good one. Freezing. So over 75% of local searches convert into leads, and about 78% of local mobile searches result in an offline purchase. 9 out of 10 mobile searches end in an action, whether it's a click, a call, driving directions being generated to a physical location. That's why those searches are so important, and really capturing that audience and catering to your audience by making accessible information convenient to them is the goal. So now that I've prompted you to trauma bond, but it was just weather, I guess I should tell you who I am. I've been a marketer by trade. I've been in SEO for the last 15 years. I started out in SEO, and I've done everything from working at data science companies all the way to consulting and even sales enablement. My bread and butter is partnerships, and I think in partnerships, you're doing everything from starting from scratch, building a plane while flying it. I've worked at bootstrap startups all the way up to unicorns. So it's been an exciting ride. When I look at the ChatGPT prompt that was given back to me on my own bio, I'm like, this is not really me. So it just shows that there always needs to be a human element in AI right now. And it's not an exact science. So what you don't know about me that's not so service level is that I am a human to 2 dogs. I am a nationally touring comedian's wife. I am a poet, and I have crippling and severe ADHD. So how do I go about my daily life as a successful businesswoman? I use ChatGPT. I use other AI solutions. So when I am writing an email or producing a thought, it's like the Da Vinci Code in my brain. And then I have to parse that down into digestible content on how someone who doesn't have ADHD thinks. And so according to science, that's in 70 words. And I don't know the last time I've thought less than 70 words in one string. So I have a 2-part process for my ADHD. I'll write out my 5-paragraph email, and then I'll say, okay, let me make this more digestible for people. I put it through ChatGPT and say, whittle it down to 70 words. And then I have this program called lavender.ai, where it tells me you're writing at a 10th grade reading level. So it basically roasts me. And then it also tells me I'm using way too many adjectives. So it's a fun overlay to have in your inbox. Highly recommend. All these experiences really make me uniquely qualified in building and lending a world-class partnerships program for our company. We have about 500 people at our company. We're in 170 countries in 33 different languages, and there's about 1 million ways to not be deliberate in your communication and misconstrue information, right? So when we take a look at the hybrid customer journey, it's really evolving and growing more complex every year. It's clouded with digital and physical touch points, which can create a lot of confusion for the consumer. AI is not new at all. So Who here was alive and remembers Y2K and how everything was supposed to crash? Show of hands. Here we are, thriving at the Javits Center. The thing is, AI has been around for a really long time. Does anyone remember Ask Jeeves? What about Google Autocomplete? Or did you mean? AKA, you spelled something wrong in the Google search bar. So our solution is typically for listings management, reputation management, and then also social media management. And we have a network of about 500 global resellers. We created 2 different AI components this year alone. One is a messaging aspect where we allow business owners that are busy doing inventory and the Lord's work to basically automate everything that they need to in responding in messages through Google and Facebook to their consumers. And then we also made it so that we can pull all of their reviews into one place and respond to them there. So it's been a really good advancement for us. The other thing that we launched about 2 years ago is voice search optimization, which is really impactful for those business owners. When we look at voice search optimization, typically businesses are right at 44% prepared for the voice search revolution, and running it through our system, making sure that they are in Siri through Apple Maps, Microsoft Cortana through Bing, Google Home and Google Assistant through Google, and then Samsung's Bixby solution, as well as Amazon Alexa's. It's not enough. There's about 39 other directories out there that all influence this ecosystem and ensure their visibility for consumers online. There's about 33 million voice searchers out there in North America alone, and this is a market that is typically not addressed through optimization as they should be. So when we talk about geo-targeting, this is really precision-based targeting to exact audiences. Contextual understanding is the weather. Hey, so-and-so who's coming to our restaurant, it's gonna rain today, so you might wanna bring an umbrella. And then there's hyper-local personalization. This allows local restaurants to target local businesses, or local restaurants to target local neighborhoods and audiences. There's also localized language and culture, where there's sensitivity around different cultures and also local language taxonomy. So we have a lot of French Canadian clients, and for voice search, they typically prefer Apple Maps over Siri. There's only about 12% of the French Canadian population that's even using voice search because it's not catered to their language taxonomy. Cool thing about voice search too is it really learns your tone, the inflection in your voice over time. I have a very strange accent, so I feel like my voice search assistant, it thinks I'm drunk half the time because it never delivers what I'm asking it to do. But the more you use it, the more refined to your accent, your tone, inflection, etc. it should become. Then there's local SEO optimization, right? So taking things from your website, from social, from in-store visits, on your interaction with your consumers, and basically how to better cater to those audiences. Taking AI and refining your keywords for your audience and infusing those keywords into keyword-rich content versus keyword-stuffed content, using different taxonomies of those keywords that are relevant through AI-written content, but then making it even more meaningful based on all of those other factors that I touched on. We also talk about data gathering and analysis, which I touched on, and implementing chatbots and virtual assistants. So what can you do when you can't scale customer service, but you need to be in a million places at once? Implement a chatbot. This takes care of customer search queries or customer service queries and makes your customers feel cared for, even if you can't personally address their issues. We work with a lot of web hosting companies that resell our solution, and when we have them implement chatbots, it improves the retention rate by at least 22% across the board, because it gives a perception of their consumer being cared for. In summary, if you're interested in learning more, I do have a playbook on go-to-market strategy, including some AI provisioning for partnerships. Find me on LinkedIn, connect with me later. It was really nice to meet you all. Thanks.
Hello. I'm on my 7th click up here, just FYI. Click. Click. One moment, please. Rebooting. All right, so here we go. Now, we're going to talk about something a little controversial. So I'm about to bring the heat. We're going to get a little hot up in here, as the name of this conference says we should be doing. And thank you so much, by the way, to everyone at Hotjar who brought me over here today to talk to you about conversations that convert. What do I mean when I say that? What I mean is, not to pick on anyone, but most people are using social media completely wrong. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you why and how to fix it. But if you want to get into the tactical part, which I don't have time for, come see me tomorrow at my roundtable. So, let's start here. Hello. Oh my God, you guys, that was so weak. It's not weak sauce, it's hot sauce. Hello. So much better. Isn't hello one of the best words we have? It's probably how you met your partner. Maybe it's how you ended up at this conference today. Maybe it's how you closed your last big client. Hello is so important, and it's one of the most inhuman things that we have, and I want you to keep that in mind as we go through the talk. So I'm not going to tell you all about me. You can Google me. I think the two most important things to know are I'm a horse mom, and I'm an 80s baby, but I am not a geriatric millennial. I'm a Gen Xer. So let's talk about social media customer care. Sometimes we call this social care, but then someone today told me that in the UK, I think it was, this means government assistance, and that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about using social media as the service of responding to customers' needs. They're coming to you on Twitter. They're probably complaining. They're probably using expletives, right? But they also could be coming to you and asking questions in that path to purchase, because more and more people are going to social media to use it as a support channel, and they're also using it as a place to do research. This is where we go and we ask our friends, hey, what SaaS product are you using that's helping you achieve X? And people come in who are friends with them, and they answer that, and if it's a public site, like Twitter, by the way, I'm not calling it X, so just want to make that clear, there are other people, right? Those people who can see that conversation might also pop in and give you their opinion. And why social media customer care is so important is because it's one of the only marketing activities that both attracts and retain customers. How many other marketing initiatives do both? Usually they're separated. Doing social media customer care or social care allows you to do both at the same time. So, let's talk about content. We are not starved for content. We're starved for connection. We have plenty of content out there. Even if you thought about the most amazing concept right now for your next piece of content, I bet you if you went and Googled it, it would already exist, right? So people are not starved for content. And Rand, who was in Rand's talk earlier? Anybody? So he talked about zero-click content, right? And he talked about how paid ads and SEO are going away because literally social media platforms don't want you to have a link. They don't want people to leave their site. Do you know what you need on social media if you can't share a link to get that first-party data? Anybody? Conversations. Right? These are things that happen very easily on social media between brands and consumers, right? Just like I said earlier, those people who are looking for support or looking to buy. So I'm going to get really nerdy on you for like 1 second, and we're going to talk about the social penetration theory. Terrible name, brilliant concept. And essentially, it was these two social psychologists back in the 70s that said, the way we build relationships as humans how do we get to trust and loyalty as humans is through self-disclosure. And there's 4 levels of self-disclosure: cliches, facts, opinions, and feelings. You do not get to trust and loyalty until you get to opinions and feelings. If I sat up here and I told you my name was Brooke, you already know that, right? That's cliche. I'm not doing anything to move the relationship forward. If I sat up here and I said, it's raining, that's a fact, right? Again, you already probably know it's raining. We're not really doing anything to move the relationship forward. But if I told you I'm depressed whenever it rains, you might go, I don't align with that. I love thunderstorms. And by the way, I do. But I'm starting to give you who I am as a person. And you've heard that already today, too. People want to align. Your buyers want to align with brands who align with their own core values. So to be a brand that shares opinions and core values, feelings with their audience, that is how you get to trust. But when you look at all of the content out there on social today, most of it lives in cliches and facts. Very little content uses opinions and feelings to connect with people, which means there's very little conversations happening, which is why you're using social media wrong. So if you think about the best brands, right, they don't sell products. They sell feelings. You can see what's up on the slide here, but if I were to ask you, what do you feel when I say the word Volvo, what would you say? Safe, right? That's a benefit of using their product. They're selling the feeling of safety. They are not selling safe cars. I mean, they are, but you don't see that in their marketing and sales messages because obviously you're hanging on to that feeling that they want to sell. The benefit of driving a Volvo is safety. So really quickly, I'm going to break down our care method for figuring out how to do exactly what I'm talking about on social. And the first one's really easy. You got to have the conversations, right? That means you as a brand have to share opinions and feelings, and you have to ask for the opinions and feelings of your audiences. But another thing I want to tell you is that I want you to stop building a follower base, and I want you to start building a customer base. Because only your customers will care to answer these questions that are trying to get their opinions and feelings about your product and services. Back when Twitter was still Twitter, which I dearly miss, they did this study, and essentially what it said was that online reviews are great, but brand conversations are actually now weighted just as high or higher than online reviews, which means when someone goes and looks at your social pages as a brand, they're looking for your brand conversation. They're trying to understand if their values align with yours. They're trying to understand if they want to buy from you. So if you're not having brand conversations, this is the place to start. The other cool thing about that report is it said that whether or not the conversation was initiated by the brand or the shopper, no matter which, it still impacted the purchase decision of that shopper. So you need to think about how can I start having more conversations with my customer base, not follower base on social media, but also how can I find conversations where I can join in, not in a creepy way, and lend value. So the A&R is acquisition and retention, 2 of my favorite words. And this is our way that we get to revenue, right? Everybody wants to get to conversions right away, but you have to have the connections to have the conversations to get to the conversions. So what we do with acquisition and retention is we go through with all of our clients and we literally tag their social media conversations. This is a tech brand we work with, and they have 12 product lines. And what we found when we asked, well, first of all, when we asked what they thought their acquisition would be, they said 0 to 5%, right? But when we went out and looked, it was all of the clients we talked to had over 20%, and this particular client had 4 product lines that had all of this acquisition. Look at product C, by the way. 80% of the chatter on their socials was sales related. People wanted to buy. So couldn't I then apply MSRPs to those conversations that were tagged as acquisition? Couldn't I then come up with promo codes or links or special deals as a way to track attribution for those conversations and then figure out how much revenue organic social could bring me? Yes, I could. So that last part is the E, right? This is a cycle. You're feeding back into it. If you don't engage on social media, whether having conversations on your own page or finding them, you're going to miss out on sales opportunities. Social listening, also really cool, because now instead of waiting reactively for those conversations to come to you, you're going out and you're finding conversations. Hey, brand, is your printer compatible with Alexa? Yes, it is, Brooke, and here's a video on how that works. Oh, and by the way, if you buy today, here's a code. We'll send you a free ink pack. So ultimately, I want you to remember that engagement means, really for the most part, you have to create human experiences on digital channels. Please start doing that, and come see me tomorrow so we can talk more about it. If you want to follow my newsletter where I talk a lot about this, you can also click this QR code. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? I'm a Southern girl, so you may hear this little Southern drawl. My name is Lindsay Tramel-Jones. I'm a wife. I'm a mother of 2 girls, a teen and a toddler, and yes, it sounds as bad as you just heard. And one is a COVID baby, so we already know those are different. And I am the owner of Fierceified Creative and Consulting. But before I get into metrics that matter, I want to tell you a story. My first trip on a plane by myself was here to New York. Before I took the trip on a plane, we used to do road trips all the way from North Carolina, and I live at the bottom of North Carolina, like 5 minutes from South Carolina. So we would take those road trips all the way from North Carolina to New York, to Philly to see family. And during those road trips, my favorite part was the rest stops. 20,000 forensic files later, not so much as adult me. But young me loved the rest stops because of the brochures. The wall of brochures with thousands of brochures of the different places with all the coupons, because my mom isn't going to pay full price. I'm going to have to strategically sell her to get me to this point. But I'll go pick up 5 to 10 brochures. And in the back seat, I'll pick up one and I'll decide this is the one. This is the one she's going to take me to. Little did I know that usually the coupons were expired or the place no longer existed, and people had set it and forget their brochures. Now, I am a geriatric millennial. And with that being said, during those times, that brochure was essentially a website for those businesses. There we go. Your website is not a brochure. We made it to 2024, as the speaker before me said. So and my company's philosophy is that because websites are not set it and forget it, we like to have a long-lasting love affair with our clients to make sure that they're able to use their sites and they're able to, see on my slides, they're able to get clients from getting to the website and making a purchase. Your website is the beating heart of your business. Everything touches it. Your podcast, your social media. Kelly just said that they don't want you to take people off their social media platforms, but you got to get them on your website to make that purchase. But it's also the tip of the iceberg of your brand. They're going there to make that purchase. So you don't want to treat it like a brochure. We use 3 tools on the Hotjar platform to help our clients see a rule of engagement. Rule of engagement. I'm also active duty Army, so that came out natural. A return on investment, to help her see a return on investment. She came to me a couple years ago and she said, Lindsay, help me save me from myself. Let me put my boots on because I'm ready. So I said, what's your problem? She said, people are not opting in to my freebie. I have a high drop-off rate on this particular page, and I have a low conversion on the application. People just not filling it out. I can see where they're getting on the page, but they're not filling it out. So to help her with her first problem, we use scroll depth. We noticed that where the position of her opt-in was, people were not getting there. It was too far down. So we repositioned where her opt-in was to get more people, more eyes on it, and she started seeing an improvement of people opting in using data to drive the design of her website. With her second problem, she was seeing a high drop-off rate on a page where people should be making purchases. So we looked at the heat map, and we saw that one button in particular was a hotspot. The button that should have been making all the sales and bringing in all the coins was bringing in nothing, and people were exiting. So we looked at that hotspot, and we rolled over into the second tool that's included in the Hotjar platform, which is screen recordings. Those of you that use the Hotjar, do you guys like screen recordings? Yes. I watch them like Netflix as your designer. So I looked at the screen recording because I already knew what a hotspot was. I just needed some way to pinpoint why people were not making a purchase. And we found out by using those screen recordings, that button wasn't buttoned in like it was supposed to be. It wasn't doing what it needed to do to help so people could make that purchase. When it came to her application and people not completing the application, we saw that she had too many questions. I know I'm not the only one. When somebody has a lot of questions on a platform, I'm not answering all those. I'm leaving. So we compared the screen recordings to the scroll depth to see, all right, at what point are we losing people on this page? At what point are people saying, I've had enough of this? And then we tailored the application to be smaller so that people were more apt to complete it. In 45 days, these were her results. She had a 40% increase in opt-ins that helped grow a mailing list, improve her brand awareness, and those connections. She had a 20% decrease in drop-offs. So the page shifted from a dead end on a website to a path that led visitors to the next step. And then lastly, she had a 10% increase on completed applications. No longer were people just not completing it, going to the page and not completing the application. They were actually completing it, and they were more qualified leads. In her words, they started going from cold to sold. I was like, okay. So from now on, think of your website as a living, breathing extension of your brand that should evolve right alongside your customers. It is not that 90s brochure that young me was picking up on the rest stops on the way to New York. It's going to continuously evolve. It's never done as much as you may think it is. I made this easy for you. So if you want the short down version of this presentation, I made an infographic, and you can use this QR code to grab it, and I will be followed. Thank you. Well done. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Uxía. Before I start, I just really wanted to ask for a big round of applause for the three wonderful women that presented just before me. You would never believe how inspiring it is to have this crew presenting with me today. As a woman in tech, I think it's super important that we have women, strong women presenting. So well done. Thank you. So, my name is Uxía. I am a product lead at a company called Adaptavist, and that means that I have the privilege of being a product manager and also lead a team of product managers myself. So the first thing I wanted to ask today is how many product people we have in the room today. Raise your hand. All right, that's my crew. Awesome. Okay, so hopefully you'll know a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. So today we're going to be talking about minimum viable product and minimum lovable product. So first things first, let's get started with what the MVP is. So I think that you have probably heard about MVP before in the past. So a minimum viable product is a term that we usually refer to in software development when we want to get a product out to our consumers really fast. So the aim of this is to just satisfy basic user needs. So we want to make sure that it's functional, but it also is delivered to the public very, very quickly. And if we look at a classic software pyramid like the one we have here, we can see that we usually have these 4 pillars. So we have functionality, reliability, usability, and then design at the top. So if we were thinking about an MVP, the MVP comes right there where the red bar is. So we just want to deliver something that is functional. Of course, we've been working with MVPs for a very, very long time. And MVPs just aim to deliver that little bit because we are hoping to iterate and iterate after that's been delivered. Now, a few years ago, the concept of MLP, or minimum lovable product, came on board. And what that means is that if we take that pyramid and we take a slight different approach to it, we would be looking at delivering a piece of functionality, reliability, usability, and design. So we want to work on delivering a vertical slice across all core functions of a product before we take it to market. Now, how do we define MLP? Well, we say that we are focusing on achieving user delight. That means that when a user starts using our MLP, they will have like an emotional connection with it, right? They will feel like they love what they're working with. They will love the interaction. Then, of course, we will create a product that users will enjoy. Enjoy means that this customer is coming back to you. It's coming back to that same product or other products that you may have built. And it aims for that aha moment. While the MVP was looking more for that delivery of functionality, this is still aiming more for that user having that, that first interaction, being, aha, this is really what I wanted. Now, I know what you're going to tell me. You know, what the hell is this MLP that you're talking about? And I want you to think about you going to your friend's house. So you go to your friend's house and you say, hey, can you bring me a cup of coffee? Who hasn't done that? And they may come to you with a black cup of instant coffee, right? Classic Americano, which is what I have here on my right-hand side. And you know, it's probably not going to be the best experience of your life. Is it going to delight you? Probably not. Will you remember it? Probably not. However, is it delivering the caffeine boost that you were looking for? Yeah, possibly. So that's the MVP. And the problem here is that if our friend had asked us what we actually like to have rather than what we want, then we would have had something probably a bit similar to this lovely cappuccino that I have on my left-hand side. When software development is a little bit the same thing. So for years and years, we've been focusing on delivering MVPs that users tolerate, but they don't love them. And we've done that because we know we had the capability of iterating and iterating on them. So that was never a problem. Now, nowadays, we have a lot of products out in the market, which means that it's a lot harder to differentiate ourselves. So the MVP sometimes is just not good enough. The problem with this is, I know you maybe ask me, well, you know what, I don't have all of the resources, Uxía, to dedicate on design. I cannot have an entire design team working on an MVP that I'm not even sure it's going to work. Okay, fair enough. However, the MLP is not aiming at that little bit of design. MLP is something that's going to delight your users. So if you've done the right amount of research, probably not a lot, you would understand that your users are looking for an integration, are looking for a new feature, are looking for a different interaction. That's your MLP. That is what you're looking for when you're building your product. So, what are the MLP building principles? So the first one that we have right here is focusing on the why. If you're a product manager, if you work with product managers, you will know that we are always asked to be working on the why. Don't focus on the how, focus on the why, focus on the what. Pretty similar to the MVP. Then we want to align with our team in our Lovable goals, which means just what I said before. So What is lovable for us? Is it a feature? Is it an integration? Is it extra design? Is it extra research? What is it? Stay lean and agile. I think this is also true for MVP, right? We want to be able to prioritize just what we need when we need it. Gathering the right qualitative research, as I mentioned before. We don't need to spend hours and hours of our research team time in endless and endless research. We just need what's most important. And then last but not least, something that's also true for the MVP, test, iterate, repeat. Just because we've delivered something that people love doesn't mean that they're going to love it forever. We probably need to iterate on that. So, it looks like same slides, come back again. All right. So up next, we have the trade-offs, right? So what are the trade-offs between one tool and the other? So the first one is looking at time and resources. I would say that perhaps an MVP is slightly quicker to market because we're not going to spend any time doing research or design or any of the other things. We're just going to focus on a little bit of functionality and we're going to throw it out there. User satisfaction. Here, the MLP is probably going to be the winner because we want to make sure that we get something out that is loved by customers. And the third one is the competitive advantage, and this is something that I mentioned in the past. So basically, when we're looking at an MLP, it's because we really want to get something different to our customers, not just something that they're going to tolerate. And, again, the same one. What's the conclusion? Go have coffee. So the conclusion really is that despite of what we've heard over the last few years, we've heard that the MLP was the evolution of the MVP, drop your MVP, just build MLP. I think that these are two different tools that we as product people or company owners have in our toolkit to use whenever we find best, whenever we find suitable. If you're launching a product to market for the first time, you may want to throw an MVP out there. If you're going to be delivering a product that is competing with other products, you may want to think about delivering an MLP. And ultimately, as I said before, the decision's yours, right? It's your task to investigate what's best for your product and what you want to build. So the power is in your hands. And that was it for me today. Thank you very much for listening. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, feel free to send me a message. I'll be happy to talk to you or have a coffee with you if you want to. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see if it works. It does. Hello, everyone. Time for a little story from the land of B2B marketing. So we've just had Halloween season. Christmas is coming up, another season. I think what we have right now should probably also be a B2B marketer season. It's tough times out there for those of you who are in B2B marketing. To talk you through kind of why that is, I've prepared 3 sections and 3 marketing memes. I'll go through it in these 10 minutes. So let's start with the first meme. This is some of the things we're facing particularly in B2B, because when we buy a click in B2B, get an organic visit to our website, it's probably going to be 6 or 12 months and a lot of webinars and social touches, etc., before we see any revenue. That's annoying, because then the sales teams gets all the credit. So we need to solve that. My name is Steffen. I'm a co-founder of a company called Dreamdata. I think the best way to describe my skills is like I'm a B2B marketing nerd, so we can talk about that afterwards, anything related to that. I got quite excited when I got invited to do this presentation, as it's called a hot take. And I actually literally wrote a hot take on LinkedIn on this topic, saying that I actually believe that less marketers would get fired if they excelled in attribution. And the reason why I think that is that we as marketers need to be very accountable for all the money we spend. We need to impact our business in a positive direction. And if we can't explain why we're doing the things we're doing, why we're spending the budget we're spending, well, then when bad times comes around, who's on the chopping board? It probably it's the marketers. So what can we do about it to not get fired? To me, that discipline of attribution feels a little bit like the cheat codes for computer games. I remember when I was a kid, there would always be some code you can type into that game and level up or get more money to buy more guns or whatever the game was. To me, attribution is that, because if I know exactly how we got our customers, I can just go back and repeat that exercise and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Which means I can explain we should do this and we should not do that. And then the C-levels, the CFOs, will not complain so much because I can actually account for the money I spent and the money we yielded, or the revenue we yielded from those activities. Okay, 3 sections. What's happening right now? Well, consumer confidence is at an all-time low. That means people's belief in whether are things going to turn into a positive thing in the future, like if we invest money, is it going to be a positive outcome right now? Most people think not. At least it's at a long time low for that sake. When you then look at what's happening to the marketing budgets out there, that's very reflected here. 58% of marketers say that the budget has been decreased or has at least remained the same. Boring. What's also happening out there is that a lot of companies are doing layoffs, and particularly marketers are on the chopping board. 17% of marketers has been fired. Oh, then you think, okay, let's lower the expectations. Let's give the people a breather. No, that's not what's happening. In these surveys that Pavilion does every month, you can see that actually 57% of the revenue leaders, the go-to-market leaders, they're getting larger budgets, though they're cutting all the marketing spend. So it's a pretty tough time to be alive as a B2B marketer. And to make matters worse, we get less and less insights into what are people actually doing before they're buying our product. Things take place outside of our websites. They take place on these social platforms, as we've heard about today. So we need to wire ourselves to this new world where things is getting a lot harder. Second marketing meme. Good, next session. So that was kind of the world, the environment. Now let's look at why B2B can be extremely painful to be in sometimes as a marketer. My company, Dreamdata, we help our customers understand their customer journeys, so we have a quite unique data set in terms of B2B companies. In this survey I'm going to show you, or survey benchmark where I'm going to show you here, we examined the customer journeys of 414 customer journeys, companies' customer journeys, and this is what we found. An average B2B journey took 192 days from the click on an ad or the visit from Google or the first interaction with a webinar until you see a client becoming a customer. 192 days. Well, okay, it gets worse, because if you're dealing with larger accounts, it takes longer. It takes 64% longer if there are plus 250 employees. And if you don't tell your managers, your CEOs, your CFOs to align towards this reality, then you're going to hit targets, miss targets a lot of times. There's an average of 31 sessions, touches on the website before you see a deal. They come from more than 3 channels. So it's very, very complex to be in our B2B world. What we then found also looking at all these customer journeys was these facts, that it actually matters for which channel you acquire people from. If you get them from a reviews website like G2 or Capterra or somewhere else, on average it actually only takes 70 days from the first time you see them until they buy. Whereas if they come from organic social, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., it takes 222 days, all long while. I guess it makes sense, because if people come that organic path, they're probably just curious about who you are and like what's your product, but they're not in a buying mode right now. And then there's other channels that you can actually spend your time on where people are actually in market right now. Good. Last marketing meme. Okay, so a lot of the pressing stuff. What can we do to kind of combat this? How can we succeed as B2B marketers in this world? One thing you can do is you can align with your sales team like never before. This is Laura, our sales leader for the US. But what I mean here is really in B2B marketing, success can only be achieved when the sales team sells something. It's a very annoying fact, but we have to see the sales team closing those contracts. So you as a marketer need to constantly be surveying the sales team, asking them, do you like the leads we're seeing at the moment? Are we doing the right content? Is there anything you can't answer? Is there anything I can help you with? Is there enough success cases? Is there enough reviews, etc.? Making sure that you kind of clean the road for the sales team, making sure that they have an easy job as possible, closing deals. Then you need to use this knowledge that I've just shared with you about how long B2B actually takes. It means that you need to reverse engineer the sales target the sales teams has and build that into your marketing playbook, because it's going to take you 6 months. So if the sales team has a target for Q4, well, you needed to be starting that in Q2. Otherwise, the pipeline is not going to be thick enough to actually close the deals that are needed. You definitely need to switch your focus from generating leads, generating marketing qualified leads, or whatever you call it in your company, to monitoring the stuff that is actually producing the deals that you win. Now, this is actually from our own Dreamdata account, and I can very clearly see that, hey, I have some channels that can produce me a ton of leads, but you know what? A lot of them don't appear when I look at what is generating revenue. So focus that shift from just generating conversions of leads to what is producing money, revenue. Okay, 2 slides more, we're done. My recipe for kind of succeeding in this tough environment right now is to still use just your gut feeling to generate the ideas, but don't jump on them before you've kind of rationally scored them between all the things that you could be spending your time on right now. You need to build a strong narrative of why are we doing the things we're doing right now. You need to test that narrative against other people in your company. Tell the CFO, tell the sales team, tell the product team, we're going to do X, Y, Z. What do you think about this idea? You need to measure your marketing activities against revenue. And last but probably most important, once you take decisions about putting a lot of money into one bucket, you need to have real data that can prove that this is a good decision. Start with gut feeling, but once you put a lot of money into a bucket, then you need to bring data. Good. Checklist for if you want to know more about your customer journey. Actually, I don't know if the slides are available afterwards, but that's the checklist. I don't want to go too deep into it. And I'm out of time. If you want to follow me, connect on LinkedIn. And yeah, thanks for listening.
We're going to go full circle on this. We start the fire sessions with AI and we end them on AI. I'm going to introduce myself and talk about this subject, but before I do, how many of you have heard of Chili Piper? Okay. How many of you are customers? Okay, a few. We have actually quite a few in common with Hotjar because we have a hot sauce, chili, of course. And to bring it full circle also with the second session, I'm also going to go emotional because chili makes us cry sometimes. I'm an engineer at heart, same as Steffen, a nerd, and I started my first company, Chili Piper, 7 years ago. When we started it, I didn't quite know how things are going to end up, but we started it 7 years ago, and as of 2021, we reached a valuation of $1 billion. I couldn't... I come from Romania, so the land of promise made my dreams come true. I came here in 2007, and immediately I started living in New York. As you can tell from my outfit, I'm an unapologetic New Yorker. I also live in Brooklyn with my 2 little boys, and AI is a lot on my mind because it changes everything. It starts with the things that might be obvious, like landing pages, and we use AI a lot on landing pages to talk to the different industries, the different segments. Not everybody understands SDR, not everybody understands BDR. Well, every industry has their own terms. How many of you use AI on your landing pages already to segment your personas? Not yet. We also use AI in our product as well, talking about marketing and sales alignment. Our product makes sure that hand raisers, so MQLs with high intent, get immediately in touch if they're qualified with their sales team. And what we're experimenting with is getting in touch with sales members that are high probability of converting, which is a little bit tricky. How many of you are in marketing here? Big chunk. Sales? Okay. On the sales side, we're testing a lot of autonomous bots also to prepare our sales team before the meeting. I'm the acting CMO, yet I believe that there's a lot more that happens to pipeline when we collaborate. So we help a lot our SDRs research accounts with bots. Did anyone play with autonomous AI bots for SDRs teams from marketing? If anyone, just find me afterwards. I want to geek out on this. And of course, preparing for the meeting is equally important. You want to make sure that you have high conversion on that meeting. It's not enough to drive traffic and pipeline for our sales team if we don't help them convert. These are some of the interesting cases, but I'm here to talk about the cases that are less talked about. And as you all seen, there are a lot of companies that are not meeting their quota, there are a lot of rifts that are happening, and as a result, stress and fear in some companies is at all times high. And when you act out of fear, you don't make the best decisions. When you're stressed, when you're under burnout, you're not going to see things as they are. And I found that actually AI helps with that as well. And I'm going to try to do a live demo, if I can. Let's see if it works. I tested it earlier, and it didn't work, but we'll try again. This is not a tool that I sell, but it still creeps me out. I'm here with a room full of marketers, sales, and product. How do you think AI might help us with stress in the future?
I get it. AI can seem a bit creepy at first, but I promise I'm here to help. As for how AI could help with stress in the future, here are a few ideas to motion recognition. AI could analyze facial expressions and vocal tone to detect stress levels and provide strategies to help reduce it. Intelligent scheduling. AI could help with time management by automatically scheduling meetings and tasks based on availability and priorities, reducing the stress of managing a packed calendar. Virtual assistants. AI assistants could handle routine tasks like responding to emails and scheduling appointments, freeing up time for more important work and reducing stress. Personalized recommendations.
That's enough. I've been using Pi for quite a bit. It's a company that CEO is Reid Hoffman, the former LinkedIn CEO. It's quite an interesting tool. I found it actually quite helpful when there's conflict between team members as well. Oftentimes, marketing and sales teams, they like to might blame one another for attribution or for things like that. And when you're feeling the stress, it amplifies your ability, it amplifies the fear, and hence impedes the ability to actually act. If you have a boss that might bully you, if you have a teammate that constantly throws fingers at you, it actually helps with that as well. But one of the most helpful cases that helps a lot with is when you want to do brave things. when you want to change an organization to do more diversity work, or when you want to change an organization to be more innovative or to change culture. It actually helps with that as well, because it can be a coach on how you can make it happen, and that gives strength. The scary part, and I think this is the reason why I'm very excited about this conference, is that AI can also impersonate us. This is a picture of myself that actually is not me, is AI, and I don't have video here, but I managed to make this AI avatar talk like me, look like me, post things online as if it was me, and that scares the crap out of me. We are going to start trusting less and less and less the things we see in our feed. Our feeds are already getting inundated. We get so many scary news in there. It's not the place I knew it was a year ago. And as a result, I think that people will start being a lot more connected outside of their phone in this kind of environments. People will start bringing their heads back up from their phone and connecting with people who can help them, people who can elevate them. And I think it's the moment that we start doing a lot more of that. If there's anything I can do to help, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I manage my own LinkedIn. I respond back. If you need help from my network, if you need help to connect with someone, if you're looking for your next role or an advice on a peer, just mention Hotjar when you connect so that I know to do that. Thanks.